Hello, welcome to the Movie Mates podcast, a podcast where we discuss where best to spend not only your movie dollary dues, but every second of your ever diminishing life. Life's short.
Wow.
We all might die soon, so why are you watching Catwoman starring Halle Berry? As always, I'm your mate Adam, and joined with me is my mate and your mate too, Ben.
Hey, that was somewhat morbid, and also it just took a weird turn that I did not expect.
Yeah, it's kind of grim. We're in grim times, Benjamin. We're in grim times.
Could have been upbeat. I'm like, hey, I know you guys are looking for things to do. It's tough. People can't go outside, so enjoy your time watching Netflix and shit. But no, you're gonna die.
No, not you're gonna die. We're all gonna die.
Jesus.
There's a very big difference.
Okay.
There's a sense of community.
Okay, I get it. Let us carry on, please.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Let's continue.
Yes.
So, yeah, I'm super excited for this movie today. This is episode 4. We made it. We made it. We made it all the way to episode 4. And as I was writing down the notes for this movie, I was like, why didn't we make this episode 5? We missed we missed a huge goal.
That was a fantastic opportunity.
Why didn't we do this? Anyway,
We are fools.
we are reviewing The Five Bloods.
The Five Bloods, yes.
Which is in the classic phrase, a Spike Lee joint, which is absolutely one hell of a movie, honestly.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, so
and just to quickly throw in there, it kind of had obviously for anybody that's in the know of the happenings around the world in recent months, I suppose. This was also rather timely in the sense of it stars Chadwick Boseman, and so we've watched it shortly after his unfortunate death. So. Certainly a very interesting movie choice. And so hopefully we will be able to give you guys a good enough view as to whether you should or should not watch it.
Yeah, so this came out in June this year. And I feel like I didn't hear too much about it. Yeah. But then when Chadwick Boseman passed, people were, really wanting to go and see some more, some more stuff with him in it, right?
Yes,
outside
correct.
of Black Panther.
Correct.
And then I saw a whole bunch of people being like, "We're going to watch The Five Bloods." So,
and I think there were a handful of his films that came out even after the Avengers movies, between 2018 and 2020. I believe there would have been 3 that I'm aware of. I'm sure there were more, potentially more, but there was at least 3 that I was aware of. That was like, oh, these are very new movies, and to your point, had not heard of them prior to his death, and then once his death kind of occurred, and he kind of became forefront on everybody's minds, then these things started popping up a little bit more. It even became somewhat recommended on Netflix as well.
Yeah, it did. Well, I think it immediately started getting recommended on Netflix. It's a bit interesting as well. So I'm looking at the Rotten Tomato scores, and this movie seems to be so the tomato meter, critics, this is a 92%. So certified fresh.
Yes.
Also on a whole bunch of pretty popular. For 80 Metacritic, I know Metacritic's not usually more we talk about that in the video game sense, but it's an 82 as well. However, on Rotten Tomatoes, its audience score is only at 54%, which seems a little low. Actually, I'm going to say it's extremely low.
I think I can understand why.
Okay, I would like to have a chat to you about that then, because personally, I'm in that 92% category.
Okay.
I really like this movie.
I enjoyed it. I certainly there was certainly points of it that I was like, eh. But as a whole, definitely enjoyed it. I probably wouldn't put myself in the 92%. Probably more around the 80s. But by any standard, that's still a very solid sort of outcome. Well, I mean, I might as well just jump into my thoughts as to why I can see it being so highly rated from a critic point of view and so much lower from an audience point of view. I think in this case it could be a matter of, like, I feel like there's a level of nuance to this movie that could very easily go over people's heads. I feel like if people come in going, it's about war veterans, it's about like war. Like, if you come in with the wrong expectation, I can see how it could be disappointing for people, and people could be like, you know what, this wasn't great because it's not what you expected, or it's not, it doesn't really deliver on certain points that you would be looking for within certain types of movies. So I think the potential kind of issue there is to say that because of the type of movie that it is, and I think if I was to categorize it, I'd say it's more of a self, like, for a bunch of old guys going on this journey, like something of a self-discovery, as well as like personal growth and conflict, more so than anything to do with the war specifically.
Yeah. It's much more movie about like PTSD and the way soldiers are treated post-war, rather than any actual kind of value judgment on the war itself. Although this movie definitely passes that as well. It's just not front and center.
Exactly. So that's my thought as to why there's a variation in the scores. And that's just my personal musings around the 2 points. And from that point, like, if you're looking at it from the critics' review, then you can certainly, like, there are some nuances to it. And if critics are picking up on that, they can be like, yeah, this is a good movie. It touches on some very deep and heavy topics and delivers it in a very, like, good way. Like, there's one character, like, I think it's Paul. Yeah. And that's Delroy Lindo.
Yes. So, okay. So do you want to just double back quickly and actually just say what this movie is about? So basically, this movie is about a bunch of. It opens up with some historical footage, which I think that this movie opens and closes like super strong. The first 30 seconds and the last 30 seconds of this movie are like a big statement kind of pieces. And it kind of opens with a lot of the context of, what has happened in the Vietnam War, the atrocities committed by Americans as well, and just the abject awfulness of the whole campaign, basically.
Correct.
And then it kind of cuts into the movie where there's a whole bunch of vets reuniting in Vietnam, fresh off the plane kind of thing, and catching up after what seems to be like many years apart.
Correct.
And then then they kind of go into being like, oh, we're here to get our
recover our friend's body
who died here, and he never got to come home.
He never made
it home. And they're like, oh, we've got all the permits from the government. We've got all this. We're supposed to be here. The movie then very quickly goes into the next layer of being like, oh, well, we are here for that. But more importantly, we found gold, a lot of gold. The American plane, the plane they were escorting, I think.
Yeah, they were the ones actually transporting the gold for...
transporting the gold. Gold went down. They killed everyone. They're like, oh, well, gold's lost. Let's bury it, and we'll come back later and dig it up, and it will be ours.
Yes.
So it's kind of like they're trying to... And it frames it in that way of Chadwick Boseman is their, like, enigmatic...
leader.
Like the soul of the group is like, man, this is reparations. Like we've
earned this.
We've earned this, and we've been out here dying.
Yeah, dying for fighting for a cause that is not ours. Fighting for a country that doesn't respect us. Fighting for a country that like hates us effectively.
Which to be honest is dead. Like I was like, yeah, you're making some solid points here.
Yeah.
So where we would just say we would go through these points, and quite often the movie would be like, and he's the villain because he's still stealing stuff, and stealing is wrong.
Yeah.
And then they're kind of like, nah, I think this is fine. I think we're okay with this. We're all okay with this.
Everybody has no issue with this, basically.
Yeah.
As each character kind of like throughout the movie, each character kind of gives a little bit of insight into their motives and what they want the called for, I suppose.
Yeah.
And that in itself, character gives them a little bit more. It humanizes them even further. I mean, not to say that they have been dehumanized to any extent prior.
But it shows the backgrounds of their decisions.
Gives them a bit of background.
Yeah,
exactly.
Well, it's really interesting because, like, immediately they confront you with the character of Paul. Like, there's a lot of characters like Otis and Eddie, and like Otis and Eddie, Melvin, I think is the other one. Yeah, the three of the four are very relatable off the bat.
Yeah,
like nice guys, traumatized from the war. They've got their demons, but they're good-hearted people.
Correct.
Paul is a bit of a different case. Paul is. They immediately introduced Paul as I voted for Trump. Yeah, that's his introduction into the film,
wearing his mega hat.
Yeah, and he's like, but they do. I really liked how they kind of contextualized it, and we've multiple times, it's very easy, especially for like us as Australians, as we dunk on Americans being like, that is the stupidest. Like you've elected a reality show president. You morons. Like why did you do this? And they even have that character in the movie being like trashing Americans for being so stupid and wrong and whatever. And
like one of the side characters later on basically calls them stupid.
Yeah. And it's interesting because like a lot of all the characters all hate Trump except for Paul. And Paul is saying like, oh, like I don't care. I don't care about any of that. I just wanted it's my turn. And like I'm just going to vote for a guy that's basically a middle finger to the status quo.
Like something different. Is like my whole life I've been getting screwed over, and
now my time to do the screwing, basically. He voted for him not thinking, oh, Trump's going to change things. He's like, no, Trump's going to help me burn it down. Basically, is the idea. Yeah. And I think that's a valid thing that people brought up because like that is a key thing for white people who also voted for him. Of like,
it's like things are shit. Things are not going to get better. We might as well like shake things up as much as humanly possible.
I'm going to be selfish and send a message. It's basically which is really interesting. And then they kind of go into a lot of that deals with humanizing him especially. And then they constantly flip his character back and make you be like, man, why have you been a piece of shit?
And that's exactly it. And to be completely honest, Paul is easily my favorite character. He's got the most depth. Well, got like he's the one that I felt like I was the most engaged with. But straight off the bat, I hated him. Like when I started, I was just like, what is with this character? He's a piece of shit. And it was over the course of the movie that I was just like, I mean, I did not like him anymore. As in, like, I did not suddenly start going...
came to an understanding, that's the thing.
There was A, level of understanding, but B, also a level of interest. He was far more fascinating and far more interesting than any of the other characters. Oh, so I think that was without a doubt just the reason why he was my favorite.
I think that was a massive thing for me as well, is if I was going to giving you bullet points of why you should watch this movie, Delroy Lindo's performance as Paul is like probably number one.
Yeah.
And honestly, and I also think so would also address like Chadwick Boseman's casting as well. The one thing I would maybe temper people's expectations is the fact that he's like very central on every poster, on every on in all the merch, even the movie posters, like everything. He is front and center.
Correct.
He is in a much smaller percentage of this movie.
He's in a fraction of it.
He's in a fraction of this movie.
Yeah.
However, it also seems like appropriate. I didn't feel like I got cheated out of it because every single action that every one of the main characters takes is done with the idea of what would Norman do. They treat Norman like he's God, basically. And they really follow, or Jesus, rather, and they just follow his letters. We'll even say he was our Malcolm X, he was our Martin Luther King. Like they were like, he is our leader and our, like, not just like our troop leader, but our spiritual leader.
Correct.
So,
Correct. And I think that was another kind of I'd say selling point for this movie, was just how well they were able to convey that. That they used flashbacks, they used like just the deep conversations that they have, they use the relationship that they have amongst each other. They use the conflicts that they have amongst each other in terms of just trying to like go through this journey. And again, trying not to give anything away. One of the ways that they would kind of keep Paul kind of, I suppose, in check, for a lack of a better term, was to just remind him of Norman, to remind him of why they're doing what they're doing. But again, like Paul is absolutely a fantastic character, and as the movie goes, it reveals more about him. It reveals more about their story, and that in itself, like, just gives you a deeper understanding of like, okay, this makes so much more sense now. And I think it's fantastically done.
There's also one thing that I was going to say with Caster's a scene with Paul that I absolutely loved. And again, we won't go into anything too much because, you know, obviously spoilers, and then we'll maybe jump into it towards the end, and we'll let everyone know, is that there's one big like soliloquy. It felt, in some parts, it almost felt like if you told me this was actually adapted from like a stage production, I would be like, yeah, I get it. Because there's like Paul does a straight up front to camera soliloquy. Straight out of a Broadway play, basically. It's phenomenal.
It kind of threw me, just quickly. That threw me for a second because I did not see it coming.
I super got into it. The second it started happening, I was like, oh, I'm in for whatever this is. Because, it's a completely, it has this, so I get why people might not like this as well, because it has this chaotic energy where it breaks like conventions like that in filmmaking, like a direct, and it's not like a movie. It's not like Ferris Bueller's Day Off, where like, you know, it's just like Matthew Broderick turns the camera and addresses the camera and then turns back to the rest of the movie
and keeps
it's
going.
Like it's not, the fourth wall is not part of the breaking the fourth wall is not a part of the movie. It is done like once in the entire film, but you just like, and it jars you so much. You're like, what? And it's kind of framed, I think, as him losing his mind, basically, and him just rambling to himself. But it is a straight, direct address to the audience. And it's awesome. It's like, fantastic. I loved it. Absolutely loved it.
Fantastic. I think for me, and possibly not as powerful a moment, but the part that really kind of like clicked for me with regards to Paul was where they were on the boat and someone tried to sell him a chicken. And the whole sequence of events after that.
You could tell that was coming too. Like, again, like when that scene started, I was like, man, here we go. Like, I know exactly where this is headed.
This is going. And so for me, that scene was just like, I get it. Like, or not quite get it. I obviously don't have the personal experience as to what they're trying to convey there. But like, I was just like, you could see the struggle that Paul was going through in just that conversation, and how hard he was trying to just like, look, I'm just gonna not engage. I'm going to just like see if I can just keep going. We're on this boat. We're making our way to our destination. And he was just really, really trying to just hold it together at that point. And that really hit hard for me with regards to Paul as a character. And I think that was like almost a turning point for me with regards to my views of that character. I feel like I am just singing Paul's praises. Again, not a great person, but a fantastic, an absolutely fantastic character.
Oh yeah, so super engaging, honestly. And there are characters to balance him out. Like man, every time, like you just feel for Otis in every like he's just like a guy just trying to do his best, and was like, oh, you're the solid one, you're the stable one. You know you got your life together. You got married, you had kids. You know you're still on good terms with your family. Like everything's you transition back into life. None of the rest of us did, but you did. And then you see his like, you see how he dealt with things and his struggle and and he's kind of just trying to tie everyone together. And and your heart goes out to him. Like it's and I think the characters, they're superbly well written.
Yes.
Characters, and which kind of maybe will pivot into one of my my problems with the movie is that that I feel like a lot of the characters outside of the main cast are kind of flimsy.
Yes.
And I didn't really like anyone else.
I feel like I feel like John.
I will say except for their tour guide.
Yes,
their
exactly.
Tour guide was great.
That was the other one I was gonna say.
That was literally the rest of the cast. I was like, okay, don't real. Every other side character, I was just like, sure.
Yeah, it was like
it just felt really weird. There was some weird. There's some weird plot holes in places as well with those characters, and like their characters' reactions to certain things and how their reactions change as events progress, and how those side characters like or dislike the main cast as time goes on.
Yes.
I'm like, this is not consistent at all.
Yeah.
Like it just didn't. It
didn't gel.
Quite get there fit for me for some of that. That would be a negative that I would just be like, there was some points I was like, this makes not a lot of, not even sense of a plot direction, but of a sense of like, I don't think a human being would react like that.
Yeah.
Like, as you've set the character up a certain way, you've set the character up to be X. I don't understand how they are now reacting as Y.
Yeah.
Yeah, like if they're always going to react as Y, then fine. But they didn't. They react like this initially, and then this other thing happened, and they're suddenly cool with it now.
They've changed, yeah.
And you're like, I don't get that.
Yeah.
But yeah, honestly, that's being picky though. That is being picky. And the fact that the main cast is just like solid aces for me, I'm like, cool. The most 90% of the movie is with these characters, so
you're okay.
Whatever.
You're A-okay.
Yeah,
I think there's two points that I want to make in regards to the side, the supporting cast. In that I agree with you. There's definitely some disjointedness. In terms of the group of three that are like, what do you call them?
The landmine clearers, basically. The white humanitarians, basically. Let's call them.
I thought they were pointless. Like, through that movie, I was just like, this movie could have been just as good, if not better, without them. Like, don't get me wrong, I understand why they're there, and I understand the reason, like what their purpose within the story is supposed to convey. In terms of a little bit of extra conflict, in terms of bringing outsiders into the mix. And mixing them up into the story, and in terms of showing how the main cast reacts to that, and then how the outsiders react to the main cast and the such. Yeah. So I get that. I just did not. It didn't work for me.
It didn't land. Yeah.
It didn't land. It was just. It was pointless, I feel.
When you were saying that, I was thinking, and I was like, you know what? I completely agree. I think there's 90% of their time on screen I could just lose. It wouldn't matter.
Like,
I just,
You don't gain or lose anything from having them there.
I don't really want to attack like the acting either, but it's like, I don't think it's as good as the main cast. Apart from, again, I want to stress that their Vietnamese tour guide is absolutely
he's
amazing.
Fantastic. He is fantastic.
Who's
and
that
he has
actor?
a very little Johnny Nguyen.
Johnny Nguyen. Oh, yeah. Hands down, fantastic performance, honestly.
Yeah.
Really cool.
The other, and I suppose he's not really a side character, but the other character that I did like and I was very happy with the inclusion of was David, so Paul's son.
Oh, yeah, no, I count him as part of the main cast.
Yeah, okay.
Yes,
and that's
no,
fair.
absolutely,
And
yes.
Yeah, he was definitely a fantastic kind of inclusion into the mix. Simply
absolutely.
because their dynamic, his dynamic within the group kind of conveyed a little bit more of the history of the team and how they kind of are together even outside of this particular kind of experience or this journey that they're on. So yeah, I thought that was a very good kind of inclusion into the mix.
I think as part of the recommendations for this as well, because I was thinking and I hate to bring this back to literally last episode, but you know when I told you should, I was like, hey, we really liked Sorry to Bother You. Hey Ben, you should really go watch Black KK Klansman.
Yes,
that is another Spike Lee movie, right?
Right, yes.
And again, I'm tying myself back to that movie only because that was the last Spike Lee movie I watched before this one.
Yes,
and I'm like, I still think I like that movie more than this one. In saying that though, I was thinking why. I think that movie is a better and more coherent story. It still has a point that it drives home, and it's really, and I really like that movie.
Yeah,
I found it fantastic.
Okay.
I feel though, if someone's to tell me right now, what movie should I see tonight? I've got these two movies next to each other. What one should I watch? I think I would actually say The Five Bloods.
Right.
Because I think you should watch The Five Bloods right now.
Right. It's a timely
people listening
thing.
to this, if you want to watch this, watch it right now.
Yeah.
Because I think what this movie has in spades is it mixed to me this story of the Vietnam War and flashbacks and all of this stuff, which is pretty well worn ground, honestly. Vietnam War movies are not
nothing new.
Nothing new. However, it does have a pretty unique spin on it that makes it feel different to I'm like, hey, cool, I'm watching another war movie like Saving Private Ryan or something like that.
Yeah.
And I'm not a massive fan of war movies either, personally. I've only really loved a few war movies. This would be now one of them. And Full Metal Jacket. Full Metal, is the one that I super loved as well. But yeah, I just feel that this movie ties that theme so perfectly with such force and you can feel Spike Lee's anger as he's making this movie and tying it to what's happening right now.
Yeah.
In our current political landscape.
Yeah.
And I feel that if you're going to get the best out of this movie, you need to watch it right now.
Yeah.
Because
in the current political
and I mean, obviously, if you watch it next year, then, it's still going to tie together, right?
Yeah.
It's still going to tie together. But if you watch it right now, it talks about Black Lives Matter. It talks about everything that is happening day in, day out today. So I feel and Black KK Klansman is a great movie. I love it. I like it probably more than The Five Bloods, but
this is
I
more
feel
timely.
That movie is going, that movie you can come back and watch that and you'll love it. Just come back and watch it later.
Yeah.
But The Five Bloods, to get the most maximum appeal and enjoyment out of it. No, even enjoyment is a weird word to say, but to get the most out of this movie, watch it right now. As soon as possible if you want to watch it.
And I think we already mentioned it. This did come out this year.
Yeah, so June, right? Only a few months ago.
It is a very topical sort of take on things, using the Vietnam War as a means to convey frustration, anger and frustration with everything that's going on.
Yeah.
And the theme, or the kind of consistent theme from that long ago, still being present to this day.
Yeah.
But
and to be honest, I think that's maybe why the reviews are kind of mixed because, and I think this comes down to more your want and but the wants of different moviegoers, right?
Yeah.
Personally, for me, and I feel this. I've got a really weird little tangent after this as well. Is that people like? I feel like in a lot of different media, and I actually experienced this recently playing a board game recently.
Yeah.
But the difference between verisimilitude, which is like your immersion and being wrapped up in the world, and consistency, versus the voice of the artist. I'll for lack of a better term,
right?
And for me, I would rather a strong point or direction or artistic direction that makes that I stop watching the movie and I turn the movie off and I sit and I think about what I've just seen.
Thinking about it.
And I'm thinking about it. And like today, so I watched it the day before we recorded this.
Yes.
And like I was thinking about it. So I was sitting at work and I was thinking about this movie today.
Right.
Like, so it stuck with me where like, and if I have to sacrifice a bit of logical inconsistencies in the movie, there are points in this movie as well where there's like some weird Deus Ex Machina stuff that happens of like in the exact moment. Oh, I mean, I don't think it's too much of a spoiler, but like when landmines, like there's a Chekhov's gun where they talk about landmines. So you're like, okay, landmines are going to feature in this movie at some point.
There are landmines going on, like
because
involved.
It's been talked about, which I was like, that's good. You know, Chekhov's gun is not a bad thing to have. But then the second mines are now introduced, the same people that did the Chekhov's gun of talking about the people knowledgeable about mines, they rocked up just in the middle of the Vietnamese jungle out of nowhere.
It's
like, and you just kind of like,
how did you guys get here? Like we've been showing the struggles of these guys getting to where they are, and you're just here.
So I feel at that point, and at that moment, and I'm not a person that looks for logical plot holes when they watch movies. Like some people are just wired like that, and again, that's totally fine. Like people watch movies in a different way, but quite often I'm like, oh, that's cool, so my brain just goes with it, and then afterwards I'll think, hey, that's weird, that didn't make any sense. The second I saw that, I was like, that's dumb, like that's pretty, come on, that makes no sense that would happen at all. But again, like I thought that, and it took me out of the movie a little bit, but I was so invested in the characters, I was so invested in not just what the story was, but in what Spike Lee as a director was trying to get across with this movie. So I was so invested in that, I wanted to keep watching. So it was not a stop point for me being like, oh, well, this movie makes no sense, I'm out. Yeah. And I know for some other people, that is just a deal breaker. That's just like, nope, I'm not invested in this anymore. This movie's stupid and I don't care anymore. Yeah. So, I mean, and I feel like that's maybe why, if you look at the audience reviews, is that people that are critics, and I don't consider myself, and we're doing a movie podcast for God's sakes, but I don't ever really see myself as like a critic in the way that like people that get paid to do this as their job is a critic.
Of course not.
But
we're just giving you our opinion. We're not saying that. Yeah,
the critics will give you like some high-minded rhetoric about this and that, and therefore it's a masterpiece. And you see all these terrible movies win Picture of the Year because the Academy's so up itself that it's like, oh no, the art of the piece is more important
of the film.
Yeah, exactly. It has to be the film. But I just feel that is like. There is a time and a place for that. Yes. And I feel like this has enough of a voice that I can overlook small little inconsistencies. But a lot of the movie going public are going to see that and going to be like, that's stupid. I don't like that. And I don't care if the message is any good. I'm out. So fair enough. I kind of get that, but at the same time, I feel that like
that's a negative.
It's still worth a watch. Like I would. I just couldn't. I couldn't, after watching this movie and thinking about it, like for 24 hours after watching it, turn around and be like, nah, don't see it.
Not great. Not great. Yeah, no, absolutely. When it comes down to it, and to kind of like hammer the point home, watch it. It's absolutely worth a watch. Obviously, like any of our other recommendations, you may not be as into it as what we have been. But I think anybody watching this can certainly find value to it. And end of the day, if you don't like it, you don't like it. But we certainly think it's something that you guys will enjoy watching and potentially be thought-provoking for you as well.
Absolutely.
And that's the thing. And kind of coming back to my earlier point is, if you don't want a thought-provoking movie, like...
Put Rambo on.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a V to me. I mean, people argue that's thought-provoking.
That's the war movie you want.
And people go, oh, Rambo's thought-provoking, but you got to dig under that. It's an action movie, and it's got a message in there.
Yeah.
But this movie is the reverse Rambo. Like,
Yes.
it's all about the message, and there is action,
the
and there is
action
some
is to
pretty
support it.
intense gore in there.
Yeah.
But it's very sporadic, and it's just to kind of shock you more than it is to actually be like, look, we're we have to be we're a more war movie, so we got to have guns and shooting in it.
And explosions.
Is there something in here that, like, visually you really liked about this movie?
Ooh.
Like, anything? There are a few things that I thought was really interesting.
Yeah.
And I haven't actually seen before. Someone might be able to correct me, but I have not seen this before.
You haven't seen it before.
So in the flashbacks, I really liked the fact that they didn't de-age the actors.
Right.
So they're going back into the 70s.
I called that out.
All the actors are the same.
Look exactly the same.
They're the same present day versions of themselves.
Yeah.
And to me, if I was going to put on my Ponzi critic hat on, to me, I got that was like, it's not a flashback in the sense of we are as the audience, like this omnipresent narrator, like going back in time. It was more like, instead of going back in time to watching the thing, we're watching it through their memory.
Yeah.
And so they're visualizing themselves as
in those situations.
In themselves. Yeah. So, and it's kind of like that those events are with them for life.
Yeah.
And they are always thinking about those moments. And that's why they're old in those moments.
That is a fantastic point.
That's really cool. I really like that. I was like, man, I haven't seen that in and I was like, oh man, we're going to do heaps of flashbacks. I was like, well, okay, it's a war movie set about Vietnam War and it's set in the present day. So of course we're going to get flashbacks.
Yeah.
But I was like, this is a really cool way of doing it. At least, if you're going to do it, at least make it interesting visually for me to watch.
Yeah.
And then again, the shrinking with the 4:3 to the 16:9, the changing the aspect ratios. I was like, cool. Yeah. But they also put the retro filters. So it literally looks like you're watching 70s footage.
The 70s footage, yeah.
And I was like,
that was super interesting.
Right at the end, they actually show you basically the de-aged version of the actors in a photo.
Yes.
So it's like, this is what they look like as young men in war, but instead of you're seeing all of their flashback scenes of movie footage
them in the
with them as
65-year-old
men.
Yeah.
Or 70-year-old men.
Oh.
Yeah, I absolutely love that. I was like, that's super cool.
I did not even think about that. I didn't consider that because maybe I was just too into the movie and then that wasn't a thought process that came to my mind, because I genuinely laughed and called it out. I was just like, it's great how they're just as old in the flashbacks as what they are now.
Yeah.
So I just laughed at that like an idiot. I didn't even really consider it from that sort of a perspective.
Now
but
you
now
feel
that you
dumb.
called it out,
you're like, I'm an idiot.
Holy shit, yeah. Holy shit, that makes perfect sense. Oh, wow. Yeah, good call. Good catch.
Yeah,
awesome.
I just thought that was a really nice little touch, honestly. But that was just me.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I am going to jump into the spoiler section of this.
Okay.
I mean, we've kind of skirted around a couple of spoilers as we have been going, but this is a very clear and distinct line in the sand. So if you are planning to watch this, cover your ears.
Would you like to first thank everyone for joining us on this podcast, for those that will be leaving us?
Yes, and to that point, for anyone that will end the podcast here, thank you very much. Check out some of our other stuff. As we mentioned, this is our fourth Movie Mates specific podcast.
Yes.
So we've done 3 other things that we've recommended people to watch. So please feel free to check them out.
I don't know about you, Ben, but I
also-
think next episode we might have to have a bad movie in the pipe.
We do need to have a bad movie
Maybe
in the pipe,
next one maybe the next one will be something you should avoid.
although considering that the last one we watched was Sorry to Bother You, and then we've now watched The Five Bloods, and both times you've raved on about Black Klansman.
No, we're not watching that. No. You just need to go see that. Go see that.
Spike Lee podcast.
No, Ben. No.
This is not what we're doing. No. So yeah, please, like, in all seriousness, give a couple of other things that we've touched a bit of a listen, and we will most certainly give you guys some opinions on not so great films as well. So yeah, no, I'm really looking forward to any sort of input or feedback people may have around these as well. So when we did Cobra Kai as our second review, that was an audience participation suggestion. So we are more than happy to take on suggestions, and in fact, we look forward to your suggestions. So feel free to send those through.
We'll be going back into the comment sections to find some more stuff to watch as well.
Yeah. Okay. So
everyone, my faithful children that have stayed
that
with us
have
past the
sat with
spoilers
us and have not abandoned us. There are two sections of that film. I'm going to keep saying it like that from now on. Yeah, because we are critics, apparently.
we are the critics.
Two parts that really got my heart rate up. The first one was where David stumbled upon the first bar. And because they were walking along, and it's just like, hey, I got to go do a number two. I can't even remember how he referred to it. He's like, drop of the deposit at the bank or something like that, right? Yeah. And he's kind of walked off on his own. He's like, yeah, don't go too far, da-da-da-da-da. And he's walking along. And this was shortly after they had the conversation with the
dude. I did the same thing. And
I was just like,
I was like, here's where he dies. Yeah. I had the same thought. That
was exactly what was on my mind. I was like,
I was like, Chekhov's gun, baby. He's gonna hit a landmine.
He's gonna go take a dump, and he's gonna step on a mine and blow himself up. This is happening. This is absolutely happening. And the more he kept going, the more I was like, oh shit. And then he starts digging. And it's just
I was just like, yeah, here we go.
And when he hit something, and I was like, yep, he's dead. He's dead. Guys, he's dead. This man is dead. So that just was like, holy shit.
Dude, that was the same thing. Yeah.
And then as that scene progressed, I was just like, oh, okay, this is great. But then at the back of my mind, I was just like, no, this is too good. Okay. They're going to find the gold, but then they're going to step on a mine. I was just so convinced.
Every time, I think it was Eddie, Melvin. Melvin's got the metal detector out, and he's like, oh, I found some here, and I found some gold here, I found some gold here. Every time I'm like, this is the mine.
Yeah.
This is the mine.
And the reason,
this one's the mine.
Part of the reason why I was just like, no, but it was in a box, and they buried it in a box. Why would the gold be scattered all over the place? I was like, it's got to be a mine soon, right? And then it explains there were landslides. It would have just moved the box, and the metal rusted out, and the gold bars kind of spread out all over the place with the landslide. So I was just like, oh shit, that makes sense. And then so that was the first part. And then the second part, kind of tying back into my point about Paul being my favorite character, was where you find out that he's the one that shot Norman.
Yeah.
And I was just like, oh, crap.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that obviously...
that just caused a few things to click. It's just like, no wonder he's so traumatized by this whole thing.
And the thing is, he never
didn't tell
actually...
anyone.
He dies not telling anyone.
Yeah, exactly. And he's so traumatized by it. It's why he has so many more demons than the rest of them. It's why he sees Norman
he basically
every night.
Shot Jesus in his eyes.
Yeah, so it's like he has the PTSD of war, but he also has the personal guilt and trauma of killing their own leader, someone they love and respect and look up to so much. It's just like that was weighing on him the whole time. And it wasn't up until his poison-induced psychosis that it was just kind of like, it's okay. Like, I forgive you. Like the vision of Norman that he saw was just like, it's okay. Come, like, and he gave him a hug. And it's just like, holy shit, that was intense. So that was really cool.
That scene was amazing. They did it really well too. It made me honestly feel like for a second that was Norman, like in a way that Norman was speaking,
like his spirit.
That I was like, yeah, that's straight up Norman. Like that isn't that isn't Paul's mind.
It wasn't a hallucination. It wasn't a
Paul giving himself the permission to be forgiven. It was literally felt like, that he's like such, honestly, that Norman's like this Christ-like figure for this group the whole time. It felt like Christ descends and like personally blesses him kind of thing. And you're like, wow.
And if you think about that point as well, like even though Norman's character was in it for such a short period of time and such small amount of screen time, like, that's the kind of character he is, and that given the opportunity, given the ability to do so, like he would genuinely forgive Paul for shooting him. It's like, he's the kind of guy that'd be like, look, it was a mistake. I know that you didn't mean to. I know, like, shit happens.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it. So that was absolutely amazing and really, really well done. So like I said right at the start, there were definitely aspects of this that was just like, yes, this is fantastic.
Also,
and
the
Paul
fact
is one of them.
Also, the fact that you are like that scene happens, and then the whole time you're just waiting for like if the gorillas will catch up to Paul.
Yeah.
And then they have that scene, and then it smash cuts to him digging his own grave as they are about to shoot him, and I'm like, and then he dies being like he looks forgiven. He's like, nah.
He was content. Like, he was just like,
of these people being like, we're gonna kill, like, of them, of like him being so angry and him at different points trying or threatening to kill his
the
friends,
other members and stuff like that.
The other members, and them threatening to kill him because he's lost his mind.
Yeah.
And then after all that, when they're like, tell us where they are or we'll kill you. And he's like, no, you're just going to have to kill me. Like, because you can just see the grief off him. Like the weight is lifted off his shoulders. He's like, yeah, you can just shoot me. Like,
go for it, guys.
Like, I'll keep digging my grave, and you can just shoot me when it's done.
Shoot whenever you're ready.
That's it. I'm out.
But to that point as well, like, just in terms of the emotions that Paul goes through, it's like at one point he's just like super. He straight up says that his son was a mistake. But then in another scene, he's just like,
he's like, I love you. I love him so much.
I want to do everything to like, and there's that scene where he does actually step on a mine, and they save his life, and it's just like,
and then he's like, next scene, you're dead to me. Like it's just like all over the place.
And but it's so well done, and
it feels consistent.
That's another reason why that
character
is just like, yes, you are a fantastic character because you're just so messed up and you're so interesting. So but
absolutely amazing. Whew. So I think. I don't have any other spoilers. I think that was you actually hit exactly what I wanted to talk about.
Perfect.
Absolutely. You nailed it. So I think we can probably end it there. Honestly, you should I'm really going to recommend this movie to people, honestly.
Definitely worth a watch. And we've touched on it already several times, and we've already said goodbye to the people that didn't want to hear the spoilers, but now we're going to say goodbye to the rest of you that did hear the spoilers.
Because you're the better people.
We love you more.
Now that it's just you and me, I can tell you my deepest, darkest secrets that we love you way more than the people that left early.
So thank you very much for listening. Once again, please check out some of our other stuff. We're on all the podcasty services, so you're free to listen wherever you so choose, but also feel free to throw your suggestions at us. You guys are clearly the better listeners, so we'll listen to your suggestions a little bit. We'll take it on better.
You're playing the audience against themselves, Ben. I love it. I love it.
So, very, very keen to hear what you think. Would love to hear your views on this as well. But as always, and last but not least as well, we also have a Discord channel where we talk all sorts, and so would be more than happy to start having these movie mate conversations in there as well if we get some interest. So feel free to jump onto the Discord and feel free to share your thoughts and feels with us.
Absolutely. That's fantastic. Again, just for saying as well, if you could, for people listening audio only, if you could either, you can follow us through Spotify or subscribe to the channel through YouTube. Also, if you're on iTunes or anything that allows you that fabled review that you always hear about but never leave, if you could please leave us a review, that would be very helpful. It really helps us promote visibility between the 1,000,001 other podcasts and movie podcasts on the People Make. Also, the best thing you could do, though, if you don't I don't want to do any of that crap, if you just tell a friend, word of mouth, that is the best thing, and be like, hey, this one, the Five Bloods, this is a good one. The other 4, it doesn't matter. But, the other... This is 4. Wait, what? 3. Man, my maths is bad. This is why
people don't listen to us, Adam.
Man. No, I'll edit it out. That'll get cut. Now I've said it'll get cut. It won't get cut. But anyway, that's the way comedy works, apparently. Yeah. So, but yes, thank you very much. And tell a friend if you really enjoyed it. But all right. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks,
thank you, Ben, for joining me as well.
Absolutely.
And we will talk to you all very soon.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.